Good morning, everyone. My pleasure is to introduce Manuela Monteiro. Manuela is the director of Hivos, the Humanist Institute for Development Corporation, a humanist non-governmental organization focused on financial services and business development, on sustainable production, on human rights and democratization, HIV and AIDS, gender, women and development, art and culture, ICT and media, advocacy and communication, and a knowledge program. Monteiro was elected second on the list of the most powerful women in the charity sector in the Netherlands due to her widely recognized leadership role in the field of women's rights. She has also been, as director of Hivos, one of the strongest supporters of the Global Forum. Indeed, when we wanted to get this movement started, she was one of the people who actually gave us some core funding to get things moving. So we're deeply grateful to her for that, as well as their colleagues' AIDS funds. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Manuela to the podium. Welcome, Manuela, to the podium.
Nice to meet you.
Here you go.
Okay, thank you. So this one is not working. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. And dear friends, let me tell you, it is really a big pleasure and a privilege to be here today amongst you all. Thank you also very much for all your kind words, and I'm sure that we have to compress our mission, because that was quite a lot you had to say about Hivos. Anyway, we do all that and more. I would like to thank the organizing committee, and George Ayala in particular. Where is he? George, there you are. For granting me this opportunity to say a few words at the beginning of this conference. And I would also like to congratulate the Global Forum for this excellent initiative, because we do need these opportunities to talk, to learn, to share our experiences about MSM and transgenders and their vulnerability to HIV. And we need also to talk, to learn and share our experiences in terms of the people we are already living with HIV. The theme of this conference, as has been said before, is Be Heard. It is a compelling exhortation, and I couldn't agree more. I think it is time to put the issue of male same-sex sexualities in a higher gear, because of all the pressing challenges that have been mentioned already by the previous speakers, challenges that we are facing in several domains: HIV vulnerability, violation of human rights, lack of access to prevention and services. So it is time, as far as I'm concerned, to put emancipation on the agenda, and being heard is an essential part of that process. As said before, Hivos is a development organization, and some of you might wonder what that has to do with the issue at hand here today. And I'll tell you everything. Development for a humanistic organization like us is not only a question of bread and butter. It's about having choices, about dignity, and about shaping your life according to your own identity. And according to this humanist tradition, we have been including the voice of MSM and transgender people in our HIV and AIDS programs for quite some time. And more important, as far as I'm concerned, we've been pushing for their voice to be heard in international arena, in the international development discourse. We feel that empowering MSM and transgender people and other most at-risk populations, and enabling them to mobilize and advocate for themselves, is in itself a development goal. By doing so, we feel that one can break the cycle of poverty, one can stimulate participation in democratic processes, and in this way really secure human rights for all mankind. As we all know, these rights are embodied in the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, and last year we have celebrated the 60th anniversary of this declaration. But sadly, for many MSM and transgender people across the world, these universal human rights are not self-evident. And we have been hearing that also by the previous speakers. Human rights of MSM and transgenders are under threat in both developing and developed countries. And we see that also in the Netherlands, where I come from. Human rights are evident for those citizens who live according to accepted patterns and dominant values and norms in society. But those who don't fit within those patterns, they are often excluded and even outlawed. And we know that stigma and discrimination against MSM and transgender people come from deep-rooted homophobia, transphobia in society, comes from fears and prejudices, from misconceptions, and sometimes pure hate. And the Global Forum, which has published a policy brief, and you have seen that in your package, in your bundle, called Social Discrimination, just last May, makes all this very clear. The recommendations in that policy brief are a courageous attempt to strengthen the human rights-based approach to HIV policies and programs. The document calls for concerted action with other actors in society. And I feel this is very important. The key strategy is form coalitions, find allies, engage with other actors at the most diverse levels. I would like to quote one of the recommendations because it summarizes so concisely this thinking. And I quote, "A collaborative effort in partnership with global health and development bodies, human rights bodies, and legal institutions is necessary to identify and repeal existing criminal laws and other policies targeting LGBT communities." A collaborative effort. I couldn't agree more. And in fact, I think that is the message that I want to stress in these few words I'm saying. I'm not saying that it is easy to do that. We all might overlook potential allies. We see that in our own practice as a development organization. We often fall back on the same circle of those we know and trust, and that's only human. But I think that we need to look further. We need to take a broader look at civil society to realize our agenda. We have a duty to engage other donors, to invest more in MSM and transgender work. We should look, I guess, at the human rights movement. We could look at the achievements of the women's movement. There is a common agenda there based on principles of human dignity. And that agenda should and could be developed for the advancement of the sexual emancipation of all people, regardless of their sexual propensities or gender identity. But there are also other institutions out there who can become involved, and they are maybe less obvious. I'm talking about knowledge networks, about schools, universities, and why not microcredit institutions. Why shouldn't microcredit schemes not provide new opportunities for gay men and transgender people for earning income instead of being forced of going into sex work? Wouldn't this decrease their vulnerability to HIV and boost their self-respect? And I could go on. What about linking with faith-based organizations, with religious institutions, or with the corporate sector? And why not the sports sector? I'm sure that all of you, I was one of the few who did not, because I don't like soccer, but I'm sure that all of you enjoyed the last few weeks of the World Championship. And I suppose we could say that the winning World Cup team last Sunday might produce some great role models to support our fight. And we will never know unless we really try and engage them. So there's another thing for the agenda, I guess. With the recommendations of the policy brief social discrimination in hand, I would like to encourage the Global Forum and the regional MSM and HIV networks such as APCOM, AMSHER, and ASICAL, and they have been mentioned as well, to really pursue this alliance strategy. For example, organize roundtables in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Hivos will facilitate that work, be sure of that. So let's bring together all kinds of actors, not just the usual suspects, and push them into translating these recommendations into concrete action, of course with respect and regard for the local context. I do think that this is really one of the most important roles of these networks. And that's why advocacy organizations like yours are so important. And APCOM's last year's work, I don't know where is Shiv, but I'm sure he's around there. There you go. Your work in this respect was really a great example to us all. And I hope that that example can be followed. So let that be a start. Others should be welcome to join and take the initiative further. And I can tell you again, and forgive me for keeping talking about Hivos, but we are proud of what we've been doing. You can count on Hivos. We have been supporting all these organizations and networks I've just mentioned, and Hivos is also engaging with the country coordinating mechanisms and the Global Fund to ensure that active participation of MSM and transgender groups in the CCMs is ensured. I am proud to say that in the last 2 years, about 16 organizations supported by Hivos have become members of CCMs. So I do think that there is already, as was mentioned by Michelle, some work being done there. I would like to conclude by saying, be heard. Yes, but also be loud. Don't let society and the establishment push you aside. Stand up, be visible, and claim those human rights. There's a great potential of activists and professionals on MSM and HIV here today. This is an incredible opportunity. And you know that Hivos is a committed ally. So together, we can fight the common battle against HIV and against homophobia, against transphobia, against poverty, prejudices, fear, and hate. Yes, we can. Remember that. I wish you all a successful and inspiring day and conference. Thank you very much.